Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today's session on patient-generated evidence to improve outcomes, support decision-making, and accelerate innovation. This presentation is going to be presented by my colleague, Angelica Valente. But before we start, I would like to remind all the attendees that this session, as well as all the other sessions, are being recorded and are going to be published on IHI's website. And also another reminder is that call 3 was launched yesterday and all the documents are available on our website. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor then to my colleague Angelica.
Thank you, Rui. Good afternoon, everybody. I will go through the agenda of today. I will give you a brief introduction to the IHI program, just to give you an insight of our framework and how we work. Then we will go deeply into the topic 2 on patient-generated evidence, giving information as it is written in the topic text about the challenge, the need for public-private collaborative research, then go through the scope, the outcomes, the impact, and the budget. Then quickly, I will give you an overview of our proposal submission process, evaluation, and as well preparation tips for the applicant, for all of you. I will not cover today rules and procedures and how to prepare the financial proposal. There has been a dedicated webinar on Monday and Tuesday. Recording are available on our website, and I will invite you to have a look at them because there will be very useful information. Our Innovative Health Initiatives is a new partnership in health between the European Union, represented by the European Commission, and the Healthcare Industry Association, which are COSIR, working on the medical imaging, radiotherapy, health, ICT, and electromedical industries. Then EFPIA, including Vaccine Europe, pharmaceutical and vaccine industries, Europa Bio, which are the biotechnology industry, and then MedTech Europe, the medical technology industry. The IHI general objectives is first of all to turn health research and innovation into real benefit for patients and society. Is also to deliver safe and effective health innovation that cover the entire spectrum of care, so from prevention to diagnosis and treatment, particularly in areas where there is an unmet public health need. And also important to make Europe's health industries globally competitive. Our strategic research and innovation agenda focus on the cross-sectoral approaches to facilitate creation of new products and services to prevent, intercept, diagnose, treat and manage diseases and foster recovery more efficiently. Our goal is to lay foundation for development of safer and more effective healthcare products and solutions that respond to unmet public health needs and that can be implemented into healthcare systems. Another important element I would like to point here is that the research supported by IHI should remain at a pre-competitive level. And in case you would like to read more about our strategic research innovation agenda, here is a link you can use. So the topic I'm presenting today is a single-stage call. The single-stage calls are quite broad on purpose, as it is up to the applicant to submit their ideas and demonstrate in their proposal that they address well the topic text. So how does the process work? Once the call is launched, it will be open to consortia. Therefore, all relevant actors, as for example, private partners, academics, contributing partner, SMEs, regulators, healthcare professionals, patient organization, HTA bodies, should work together in writing the full proposal, which is maximum 50 pages. that will be submitted to IHI by the call deadline, and for this specific topic is on 15 March 2023. Thereafter, there will be a competitive evaluation with independent expert who will evaluate the proposals and agree on a ranking list based on the available budget. A certain number of proposals that are above the threshold will get funded. Then this funded proposal will enter in the grant agreement preparation phase in order to sign the grant agreement and then start the project. Specifically of this topic on the patient-generated evidence. Regarding the challenge, we know that the amount of health data generated by citizens themselves is rapidly increasing, and such data includes the patient-reported outcome measures, the PROMs, the patient preference information, the PPI, and the patient-reported experience measures, the PREMs, as well as there are other digital health data and digital biomarkers. While the potential for this data to be harnessed to improve individual healthcare is enormous, these data are often fragmented among multiple providers, so that neither the citizen nor the healthcare ecosystem have a comprehensive overview, and therefore it is very challenging to fully use this data to provide reliable evidence for decision makers and to improve the health outcomes. Also, as the cost of healthcare continues to rise, integrated healthcare solutions offer possibilities for delivering better patient outcomes more efficiently. However, the infrastructure for developing effective solutions at scale and for evaluating novel high-value care products, programs, and services at the moment is still fragmented. While patient input is critical to developing this person-centered integrated care solution, to date, coordination among different types of product and services providers has been mostly on an as-needed basis. There has been little incentive for these diverse research disciplines and different types of product and service providers to coordinate their effort in order to develop systematic approaches to use of patient-generated data. So why we need the public-private cross-sectorial collaboration in the field of patient-generated evidence? As probably most people working with patient evidence data know very well, patient input can derive from multiple sources, which have different theoretical foundations and are at different levels of methodological maturity. Therefore, patient input requires different skill sets that are often not found within a single institution. And only a pre-competitive collaboration that brings together patient, healthcare professional, industries, researchers, program designers, and program evaluators can ensure the effective implementation of patient input into the design, evaluation, and implementation of effective and innovative and integrated care strategies. Therefore, projects under this topic should aim to develop a framework to integrate patient input and patient-generated data for use in decision-making, like regulatory, health economic evaluation, or reimbursement, healthcare program design, tailored prescription of therapies, and technology development to use for benefit risk evaluation and value assessment of integrated healthcare solutions. Applicants can build on existing frameworks with appropriately address ethics consideration, but avoiding duplication. Projects under this topic should also aim to implement several use cases to support and demonstrate the use of the framework, focusing on patient input and patient-generated evidence to address challenges that are not adequately addressed by other initiatives. These use cases should demonstrate the value of using patient input, the PROMs, PPI, and PREMs previously mentioned, and patient-generated data, the digital health data and digital biomarkers, along the healthcare continuum, including showcases improvement to data interoperability, healthcare workflows and processes, disease prevention and care, including also the home-based care. These use cases should also act as example of best practice for the future use of the framework. Project under this topic should also aim to facilitate multi-stakeholder access to patient input and patient-generated health data, such that actionable harmonized data can be used for quality decision-making. Compare and contrast the properties of the three types of patient input, the PROMs, the PPI, and the PREMS, identifying differences and opportunity for integrated and complementary use. Also important is that develop one or more approach to integrating PROMs, PPI, and PREMS data into the design of core outcome sets, end-to-end patient treatment pathways, clinical decision support system, and treatment guidelines. The core outcome sets used within the project should be made available more widely wherever is possible. The results of the project funded under this topic should contribute to all of the following expected outcomes. On decision makers having new method for the integration of the PROMs, PPI, and PREMS and other people-generated information into regulatory and health technology assessment, the HTA evaluation process, for integrated healthcare solutions. Also on patients of all ages having access to novel integrated healthcare solutions that are developed using structured patient input and better respond to their needs and preferences, having researchers having new methodological approaches to integrate patient preferences into the conception, development, and implementation of integrated healthcare solution, and also having wider access to interoperable quality patient input and patient-generated data, respecting the FAIR principles, so the findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable principle, facilitating the research and development of integrated healthcare solutions. Another important outcome is that researchers should be provided with the new outcome measures and the time horizon over which value should be assessed to develop appropriate tools and method for the collection and analysis of PROMs, PPI, and PREMS. In terms of the impact, it is expected from projects funded under this topic that the results should enable the added value of people-centered integrated healthcare solutions to be assessed according to the criteria that matters to patient and citizen, using the patient-reported outcome measures, the patient preference information, and the patient-reported experience measures. As I said before, the PROMs, the PPI, and the PREMS. Facilitated the development and implementation of integrated healthcare solutions based on patient input, including the PROMs, the PPI, the PREMS. This solution should better respond to the needs and preferences of patient and citizen and support an inclusive approach. Also, these results should enable the smart use of patient input and patient-generated evidence to facilitate the faster market entry of patient-centric and cost-effective advanced integrated healthcare solutions, and also spur further innovation by improving return on research and innovation investment. Another important impact is to use patient input gathered via mobile health, electronic health, and other technologies to gain improved insight into the real-life behavior of patients of all ages with a complex chronic disease and comorbidities. Another important consideration to take into account is that applicants are expected to seek engagement with regulators wherever relevant for example, through the EMA Innovation Task Force or scientific advice, and consider allocating appropriate resources to explore synergies with other relevant initiatives and projects. Regarding dissemination, exploitation, communication activities, it is important to plan their strategies for these activities already at a proposal stage, considering the development of, for example, a business plan and measures to maximize the impact of the project and its fundings. As you can see from the diagram, the communication activities should be performed during the full lifespan of a project and start as soon as the first results are achieved, while the exploitation and dissemination activities should start during the project implementation, but continues even after the end of the project, as most of the results will be achieved towards the end of the project. Make sure you reserve budget, resources, and expertise for these activities. And as another reminder, the proposal should have a short description of dissemination, exploitation, communication activities. This is important because this is an admissibility condition. And this is, I put here a snapshot of the table you have to fill in as part of the proposal in these terms. You have to specify the needs that trigger your project, the expected results, the dissemination, exploitation, and communication measures to apply to these results, and the target group who will benefit from your results, and also the expected outcomes and impact coming from the achievement of your project. Regarding the budget, a total of 20 million public funding are available for this topic. IHI estimate that a financial contribution of about 8–10 million euro would allow a proposal to meet the objectives of the topic and address properly the expected outcomes. So we expect to fund 2 projects if we consider 8–10 million public funding for each of them, but it will depend on the it will depend on the ranking list and how much the budget for the proposal that are above the threshold. At least 55% of the total budget of each project must be covered by contributions provided by IHI private members and contributing partners. And I would invite you to use our tool, is a budget tool that we recently published on our website that will help you and facilitate the budget structure of your, to fill in the annexes that you will be required for to apply for this call. Regarding the duration, applicants should propose a project duration that matches the project activities and expected outcomes and the impact. So it's up to you to decide about the duration of your proposal. Regarding the proposal submission and evaluation, I will quickly go with you through the process. The proposal template is composed by Part A, B, and annexes. The Part A of the proposal is the administrative data, and that is entered in the web forms through the funding and tenders portal. The Part B of the proposal is the narrative part that includes 3 main sections: the excellence, the impact, and the implementation. And then you will see annexes, very important, the participant types and the budget details. To fill in the budget details, please have a look to the website, to the webinar that my colleague Gael did yesterday morning. It's a very comprehensive, very complete, will be very useful for you to complete the details of the budget. Then, as I said at the beginning, all the proposal will be evaluated by independent expert, and the evaluation criteria are the excellence, the impact, and the implementation. And each of these criteria is divided into sub-criteria. And evaluators will only use these evaluation criteria to assess the proposal and to score it. The threshold for each criteria is 3 out of 5, but as an overall, the proposal can pass the threshold if it scores 10 out of 15. Then I would suggest you to read the instructions in the proposal template very carefully, as a proposal should clearly address each sub-criterion. So once you finish to write your proposal, read it again in a critical way to be sure that you have addressed each of the sub-criterion. Tips for applicant regarding this, as I said, read carefully all the call relevant material, especially the topic text. And here there are a couple of links where you can find all the necessary materials to work on your proposal. Form your consortium as early as possible, and always thinking about the public-private partnerships. And of course, you have to include partners that brings in-kind contribution. Ensure also that all information requested in the call text and proposal template is provided to allow the evaluation expert to easily assess your proposal against the evaluation criteria. And consider and plan for the potential regulatory impact of your results as well. In case you are interested in finding project partners or you would like to join a consortium, there is the possibilities of networking with your contact or use the IHI Call Days participants, and here is the link for the B2 Match platform created for this purpose. You can use the EU funding and tenders portal partner search tool, or you can get in touch with your IHI national contact point asking them some suggestion. And also we suggest to network on the social media. You can use, for example, Twitter or LinkedIn to get in touch with somebody that could join your consortium, or in case you would like to join somebody consortium. These days have been organized several pitching sessions. You can join the session via the B2 platform, Match platform, and specifically today between 4 and 5 Central European time, there will be the pitching session dedicated to the patient-generated evidence for this call. And these are some 4 easy steps to get in touch and to book your meetings into the B2 Match platform. So you have to make yourself available, look for partners, or on the participant or on the organizational tab. You have to select the date, the time, and the attendees, and you can add a message and then send the meeting request and only wait for the reply. This platform is available until the 20 April 2023, so it will be continued working even after the IHI Call Days. And here we put a link for you to have more information on the step-by-step guide on how to book meetings. I give back the floor to my colleague Rui for the Q&A session.
Hi, Angelica. Thank you very much for your presentation. It's very interesting. We haven't received any questions via the chat. It's now the moment. Should you have any questions, you can reach us via the chat function. So I just want to remind you then that all the recordings will be available on our IHI website. The link to the page is on the chat, as well as we posted some important links on the call documents and call 3 documents, which are also available on our website. And as well as if you want to send us a question about the specific case, please send us an email to applicants@ihi.europa.eu. Now it's your chance. Should you want to ask a question about the specific call topic? So since we don't have any questions, I would like to thank you for your attention, and we look forward to seeing you at the next session, which is at 4. It's the pitching session on this topic. Thank you very much for attending. Oh, we just got one question.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So this question, oh, we got a few questions. Thank you very much. So it's just give us 1 second. And the first question is, could you clarify what you mean by funding of 45% of contributions from IHI private members and contributing partners?
Yes, it was I think it was yesterday. On Monday and Tuesday we had dedicated webinars to explain this part, and the 45% of in-kind contribution is an eligibility criteria. Maybe it's better to leave the floor to my colleague Desmond, who is the legal, who explained this part and clarify this question.
Hi, everyone. Yes, so as Angelica said, first things first, we would refer you to the 2 webinars that we did earlier this week, which are on the website. One was for rules and procedures, where we made some references to the 45%, and then to the Tuesday webinar, which was dealt with this in quite a lot of detail, but in very, very broad terms, without drilling down into numbers. Essentially, there is an obligation in the legal basis whereby the participants are responsible for making sure that they have an in-kind contribution which is equivalent to 45% of the total cost plus the EKAA, which is the in-kind towards additional activities. So because we're talking here about a single stage call, this is kind of the collective responsibility of the entire consortium. So what has been happening in IHI projects is that applicant consortia who are responding to the calls and submitting proposals, they've essentially been organizing themselves with industry partners, with what we call contributing partners, to basically make sure that they have these other parts of the consortium who are generally industry based, or maybe foundations as well, who can provide this in kind. And the second point, which is very important, which Angelica covered there and which I would reiterate, is that this is an eligibility criteria. So when we get to the submission stage and we're evaluating the submissions which are put in, the proposals which are put in, IHI will actually check to ensure that we do have this 45% balance. And if the 45% balance is not present there in the actual proposal, if the numbers don't add up, then essentially you will fail the eligibility criteria and your proposal won't move forward for evaluation by the independent experts. So that's the short answer to highlight just how important this is. And just for clarity, because the terms were included in the question, when we talk about the private members and the contributing partners, the private members are the 4 trade associations, which are what we call the members of the JU other than the union. So we're talking about MedTech Europe, we're talking about BioEuropa, we're talking about FPA, we're talking about COSIR. And they are obviously the trade associations, and then they have these other organizations which constitute them. So that may be one source of the 45% funding in this regard. But as I said, this is something which is the responsibility of the applicant consortia. So it's incumbent upon you that if you want to apply to answer this call and to prepare a submission, you have to have this in kind there somewhere. So, it's really important that the potential applicants basically organize themselves, reach out, use their networks, build their consortia, and make sure that this in kind is part of their proposal.
Thank you, Desmond. There's just a quick follow-up on the 45%. It's so the 45% amount is on top of the approximate 10 million per project that Angelica mentioned.
Yeah, so it's if the total costs are basically going to be at 10 million, then you would basically say that 45% of that would actually be the in kind. So as I said, rather than disappear down a rabbit hole here, because we don't actually have any of the visual aids, I think if I can refer you to the financial webinar which happened on Tuesday, which Gail presented, and actually I contributed to that as well. We actually have slides there which very, very clearly show, where this kicks in and what the dividing lines are and how to factor in things like, starting at 45%, maybe aiming for 50%, maintaining it throughout the project, all these kind of sub criteria as well. So, but following on from that, if you check out the slide on Tuesday, or sorry, if you check out the webinar from Tuesday and you have a problem in relation to it, if you're still not clear, then I would strongly suggest you contact IHIJU versus the InfoDesk facility, and we can provide a more detailed answer. And I would also, everyone here on the call who's thinking about addressing the challenge raised by this particular call and preparing a proposal, I would strongly recommend that you take a look at the IHI Guide for Applicants, which is on the website as well. And that has a lot of this detail in kind of very, very clear, straightforward language that you could peruse also.
Thank you very much, Desmond. We have now a question regarding non-disclosure agreements and IP. I'll also refer it to you, Desmond. So how do we deal with the issue of non-disclosure agreements with other members in the IHI platform? It would be unwise to share intellectual property without protection.
Actually, okay, that's interesting. So it's interesting because we've actually had this question in a couple of other webinars for Call 3, and these questions don't come up too often, so I'm curious. All right, so yes, I mean, I think it's recognized that if you are coming to an IHI project, the chances are you're bringing some quality material, which would be protected by intellectual property. So there's 2 points here. One, in terms of the larger project, you know, if your proposal is successful and you make it to the point of actually launching a project, you will be signing, you know, the IHI grant agreement, and there is language in there specifically in the grant agreement to protect your asset. So if you are bringing valuable IP, essentially what the rules say in a nutshell, they say it in a lot more detail than I'm going to describe here, but essentially what it says is that your IP remains your own. Your asset remains your own. You will grant access rights to the other beneficiaries so they can do work if they need to do work with your asset in the project. But the rules very strictly prevent another beneficiary or another person in the project taking your asset and commercializing it. So in that sense, your IP is safe in the actual project. Now, in terms of the early stages, where we're talking about an applicant consortia, indeed, if you actually have something sensitive, what's quite common is that confidentiality agreements are put in place within the applicant consortium. So people basically say, look, we're going to conclude this this confidentiality agreement for the purposes of addressing this call topic under the IHI call, and this will cover us all the way from the initial negotiations, the formation of the applicant consortium, the submission of our proposal, the evaluations, and then based upon the outcome of the evaluations, if indeed we do progress to the next stage, then you will complete a larger separate agreement which will cover the confidentiality within the scope of the consortium, which is then going to tackle the grant itself. So the querist is right in 2 senses. One, you know, IPR is an issue to actually weigh and consider this is true, but also there are normal procedures which we use in IHI projects to protect these assets because, you know, a lot of what the various beneficiaries, potential beneficiaries, are bringing is so sensitive and so specialized.
Thank you very much, Desmond. Our next question is for you, Angelica. So can a startup SME in digital health take part in this call?
I would say yes, indeed. It's there should be always a rationale behind taking on board a participant, a beneficiary in a proposal, because it should be related to some activities necessary to meet the objectives of the topic text. So if for this applicant, an SMEs in digital health is important to achieve the expected outcome and impact, yes, of course. It should be well described while every participant are in the consortium to justify the activities and to show they have the right expertise to take care of the task described in the proposal. And I would also like to reply to another question where it say clarify funds. Just to clarify, the funds will go to 2 projects of 10 million each, and then as an SME, who would like to take part? Do they need to approach larger organizations? So first of all, what I said that is an estimated budget. We think that a proposal, a budget of 8-10 million euro would allow a proposal to meet the objectives and the topic and address properly the expected outcomes. But if the first in the ranking list, the first proposal in the ranking list is requesting the 20 million, then we will have only one project. So it will depend on the ranking list, and based on the available budget, different one or more project can be funded. And the fact that NSMEs will take part if they need to go to approach a larger organization, SMEs can apply as a beneficiary itself.
Thank you, Angelica. We also had a few questions regarding how, for example, how applicants can contact other organizations so they can guarantee the 40%, 45% minimum. And there's a few questions regarding how to reach to consortium partners. So can you please just clarify this?
Yes, so as I showed before, the pitching session are there. Also the B2 match platform are developed for the applicant, for all of you to communicate, to chat, to create your own network, and be in contact with people, with organization, to also found somebody that could guarantee this 45%. And yeah, these are, yes, as I show here, these are the links that you can use, as well as the other question regarding somebody working in the area of neurodegenerative condition, if there are no potential partners online at the moment. I would suggest to use the EU funding and tender portal partner search tool, because there you can find other partners maybe involved in already running project in the field, and also contact your IHI national contact point, expressing you're willing to create a consortium in this field, and then they can suggest you the best way how to proceed. And again, use your social media to network. There are different, as you can see, there are different possibilities that you can explore.
Thank you, Angelica. And should you have any other questions, now it's the time to write them down on the chat. No, so thank you everyone for attending this session. As we mentioned before, all the presentations will be available on the IHI website. Also, the call 3 documents are already available on the IHI website. We invite you to visit those pages. And thank you very much for attending this session, and we look forward to seeing you at the other sessions. Thank you.